The deep mining shafts of Kepler 442b stretched far into the planet's core like giant metal veins. Red warning lights flashed along the tunnel walls as Kim Tae-ho checked the pressure gauges on level 7. The night shift was always quieter, with only essential crew working the dangerous lower levels where the valuable crystals grew. Tae-ho wiped sweat from his forehead and adjusted his helmet light. At 32 years old, he had been working these mines for almost 8 years. He knew every sound the tunnels made, every vibration that meant trouble. Tonight felt different. The rock groaned louder than usual, and small stones kept falling from the ceiling. "Control, this is Tae-ho on level 7, he spoke into his radio. "The support beams are showing stress fractures. I think we should evacuate this section." Static crackled back. "Negative, Tae-ho. Production quota must be met. Continue operations." Tae-ho shook his head but kept working. Corporate always pushed too hard. They cared more about profits than worker safety. He moved to check another support beam when the ground shook violently. A deep rumbling filled the tunnel like thunder underground. Tae-ho looked up just as the ceiling began to crack. Massive chunks of rock crashed down, blocking the main tunnel exit. Emergency sirens began wailing throughout the complex. "Tunnel collapse on level 7, someone shouted over the radio. "All units evacuate immediately." Tae-ho ran toward the emergency exit, but another section of ceiling gave way. Rocks the size of cars tumbled down, sealing off his escape route. He was trapped in a small pocket of space, surrounded by tons of collapsed stone. His radio crackled to life. "This is emergency control. All rescue teams report to stations. We have multiple workers trapped in the lower levels." Tae-ho tried to respond, but his radio was damaged. He could hear the voices but couldn't transmit. He was alone in the dark with only his helmet light and whatever air remained in his small pocket of survival. Above ground, the mining station buzzed with activity. Different alien species worked together in the rescue operations. There were tall, blue-skinned Altarians with their forearms perfect for heavy lifting. Short, stocky Rokari with their natural ability to see in the dark. And the Thylorians, known throughout the galaxy for their careful, methodical approach to dangerous rescues. Velnora, the Thylorian rescue team leader, studied the scanner readings on her tablet. Her gray skin had natural patterns that helped her blend with rocky environments, an evolution from her species' cave-dwelling ancestors. Her large, dark eyes could see heat signatures through solid rock. "Sector 7 Delta shows one life sign," she reported to the emergency coordinator, a Rokari named Gree. "Human. Approximately 3 kilometers down. Vital signs stable but weakening." Gree looked at the structural damage reports. "Too dangerous. The whole section could collapse further. Standard protocol says we evacuate the area and seal it off." Other rescue teams were already pulling back. They had saved 12 workers from the upper levels, but the deeper sections were deemed too risky. The corporate overseers agreed with the decision. Losing one worker was acceptable compared to losing an entire rescue team. But Velnora remembered something from 6 months ago. There had been a gas leak in the Thylorian section of the mine. Deadly vapor had been filling their work area, and her people were trapped. Kim Tae-ho had been off duty, resting in his quarters, when he heard the emergency call. Without being asked, without being ordered, Tae-ho had put on his emergency gear and crawled through a maintenance shaft that only a human could fit through. He had manually shut off the gas valves from the inside, saving 17 Thylorian workers including 3 of Velnora's close friends. When asked why he risked his life for aliens, Tae-ho had simply said, "Because it was the right thing to do." Now Velnora stared at the scanner showing Tae-ho's fading life signs. Her team of 6 Thylorians waited for her decision. They trusted her judgment completely, as was their way. "We're going after him," she announced. Her second-in-command, Keltar, tilted his head in confusion. "Commander, the risk assessment shows a 70% chance of secondary collapse. Regulations clearly state." "I know what the regulations state," Velnora cut him off. "But regulations didn't save our people when the gas was killing them. Tae-ho did." The other rescue teams watched in surprise as the Thylorians began setting up their drilling equipment. Gree approached Velnora with concern. "What are you doing? The evacuation order has been given." "We don't abandon those who helped us," Velnora replied, her voice firm. The Thylorians worked with incredible precision. They drilled narrow pilot holes to test the rock stability. They used support charges to strengthen weak areas as they advanced. Every meter was carefully planned and executed. Corporate supervisors arrived and demanded they stop. The Thylorian government sent orders to cease the unauthorized rescue operation. Velnoro ignored them all. For 18 long hours, her team worked without rest. They navigated through collapsed sections, pumped out toxic gases, and reinforced unstable areas. The scanner showed Taiho's vital signs getting weaker with each passing hour. Finally, they broke through to the pocket where he was trapped. Taiho was unconscious but alive. Velnoro carefully extracted him while her team secured the rescue route. When they emerged from the tunnels, Taiho was immediately taken to the medical bay. He would recover fully, but the Thylorians faced immediate consequences. Corporate officials suspended Velnoro and her entire team. The Thylorian government recalled them for disciplinary action. Within a week, they were transferred to different assignments across the galaxy, their careers effectively destroyed. The rescue was classified as a rogue operation and buried in paperwork. Taiho was quietly transferred to a remote outpost where he could cause no more trouble. But humans talked to each other across the stars. In quiet conversations on transport ships, in messages sent between colonies, in the informal networks that connected human communities throughout space, the story spread. Aliens had risked everything to save one human. They had lost their careers, their futures, their standing in their own society, because they believed in doing the right thing. Humanity would remember this. Dr. Park Mi Young rubbed her tired eyes as she scrolled through another stack of digital reports. Working late nights at the Human Diplomatic Service was nothing new, but tonight felt different. A strange message had arrived 3 days ago from someone calling themselves a friend of justice. The message was short and mysterious. Look deeper into Kepler 442b mining incident, year 2387. They paid a price for saving one of us. Park Mi Young was curious by nature. At 4 to 5 years old, she had spent most of her career investigating incidents between humans and alien species. Most cases were simple misunderstandings or trade disputes. This felt bigger. She accessed the mining corporation's public database and found the official report. One human worker rescued after tunnel collapse. Standard rescue operation. No casualties. Case closed. But something bothered her about how clean and simple it all looked. Using her diplomatic access codes, Park Mi Young dug deeper into classified corporate files. What she found made her stomach turn. The official rescue team had actually abandoned the operation. A separate team had conducted an unauthorized rescue, facing immediate punishment afterward. The names on the unauthorized rescue team were all Thylorian, led by someone called Velnoro. Park Mi Young cross-referenced these names with current employment records. What she discovered was systematic destruction of lives. Velnoro, former rescue team leader with 15 years of spotless service, now worked as a waste disposal technician on Terminus Station, the armpit of civilized space. Her second-in-command, Keltar, had been exiled to a remote mining colony where he sorted rocks for minimum wage. Another team member, Zixara, had been blacklisted from all rescue work and now cleaned shuttle bays. The pattern was clear and cruel. Every Thylorian who participated in saving the human had been professionally destroyed. Their families were denied educational opportunities, housing loans, and good jobs. Children were rejected from schools. Spouses lost their positions. Park Mi Young spent weeks tracking down more information. The deeper she dug, the worse it became. Over 80 Thylorians had supported the rescue operation or spoken in defense of Velnoro's team. All faced consequences. Some lost jobs. Others were transferred to horrible assignments. A few simply disappeared from all records. The saved human was listed as Kim Taiho, transferred to shipping hub designation XK7739. Park Mi Young decided she needed to speak with him directly. The journey to XK7739 took 4 days on a commercial transport. The shipping hub was an ugly collection of metal buildings floating in empty space, serving as a refueling stop for cargo ships. Park Mi Young had never seen a more depressing place. She found Kim Taiho working the night security shift, walking alone through dark corridors with a flashlight and a worn uniform. He looked older than his 40 years, with deep lines around his eyes and gray streaks in his black hair. "Mr. Kim," she approached carefully. "I'm Dr. Park Mi Young from the Human Diplomatic Service. I'd like to ask you about what happened on Kepler 442b. Taiho stopped walking and stared at her. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then his shoulders began to shake. "You're the first person to ask me about that in 3 years, he said quietly. "They told me to never talk about it. Said it would cause diplomatic problems." Park Mi Young sat with him in the security office, a small room with flickering lights and old equipment. Taiho made weak coffee and began to tell his story. "I was trapped for almost a day," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. The official rescue teams had given up. They said it was too dangerous, that one life wasn't worth risking more. I thought I was going to die down there in the dark. He paused to wipe his eyes. Then I heard drilling. For 18 hours, they worked to reach me. When Velnora pulled me out of that hole, she said something I'll never forget. She said, "We don't abandon those who helped us." Taiho explained how he had saved Thylorian workers months earlier from a gas leak. It had been dangerous, but he couldn't just let people die. What happened to them afterward? Park Mi-young asked, though she already knew the answer. Tears streamed down Taiho's weathered face. They lost everything for me. Everything. Velnora was one of the best rescue specialists in the galaxy. Now she cleans garbage bins. Her whole team was destroyed. Their families too. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the empty space beyond. I tried to help them. I wrote letters, made calls, even offered to testify. But I'm nobody. Just a maintenance worker. My word means nothing against corporate policy and government decisions. Park Mi-young felt anger building inside her chest. Did you know that over 100 Thylorians were punished for this? That their children can't get into good schools because their parents are marked as troublemakers? Taiho's hands shook as he gripped the window frame. I know. I've tried to track down as many as I could find. Velnora won't even answer my messages. I think she's ashamed. Or maybe she hates me now. She doesn't hate you, Park Mi-young said firmly. She saved you because it was right. And now it's time for us to save them. Park Mi-young spent another week on the shipping hub, documenting everything Taiho remembered. Names, dates, details about each rescue team member. She also recorded his testimony, watching him break down as he described the systematic punishment of his saviors. When she returned to Earth, Park Mi-young worked for days straight preparing her report. She listed every name, every injustice, every life destroyed. 17 Thylorians directly involved in the rescue. 83 who supported them or spoke in their defense. Over 400 family members who suffered consequences. Each had a story. Each had sacrificed something for showing mercy to one human being. Park Mi-young's report landed on the desk of the Human Diplomatic Service Director on a Tuesday morning. By that afternoon, it was in front of the President of Earth. By evening, emergency meetings were being called across the human government. The title of her report was simple but powerful: The Debt We Owe, How Heroes Were Punished for Saving One of Us. 3 days later, President Lee Jong-minute called an emergency session of the United Earth Assembly. Park Mi-young sat in the gallery as he read her report aloud to the representatives of all human colonies and territories. When he finished, the assembly hall was completely silent. Then one representative stood and began clapping. Soon, everyone was on their feet. The message was clear. Humanity had a debt to pay, and they would pay it in full. President Lee Jong-minute walked slowly to the podium in the great assembly hall on Earth. Behind him sat representatives from every human colony, territory, and space station across the galaxy. The hall could hold 10,000 people, and today every seat was filled. In his hands, Lee Jong-minute carried a simple data pad. But the information on that pad would change everything. Dr. Park Mi-young sat in the front row, watching as the most powerful human in the galaxy prepared to speak about her investigation. 3 years ago, the president began, his voice carrying clearly through the silent hall, aliens saved one of our people. Today, I will tell you what happened to those heroes. Lee Jong-minute told the story of Kim Taiho and Velnora. He read the names of every Thylorian who participated in the rescue. He described how they were punished, demoted, exiled, and destroyed for showing mercy to a human being. Velnora, hero and lifesaver, now cleans waste containers on Terminus Station for barely enough money to eat, he said. Keltar, decorated rescue specialist, sorts rocks in a mining colony prison. Zixara, who helped drill through collapsed rock to reach our brother, scrubs floors in a maintenance depot. The president's voice grew stronger as he continued. When they saved Kim Taiho, they saved all of us. Every human life is connected. Every act of kindness toward one of us is kindness toward all of us. Honor demands we return the favor. The assembly erupted in applause that lasted for several minutes. When the noise finally died down, Lee Jong-minute held up the data pad. I am authorizing Operation Starlight. We will find every Thylorian who helped our people. We will bring them to safety. We will give them citizenship, honor, and the respect they deserve. Representative Kim Sora from the Mars colony stood up. Mr. President, what about the diplomatic consequences? The Thylorian government will protest. The Galactic Council will complain. Lee Jongmin's expression was stone cold. Let them complain. We don't abandon those who helped us. Within hours, emergency meetings began across human space. Military commanders, ship captains, and civilian transport operators all received the same message. Operation Starlight was the highest priority mission in human history. Admiral Yoon Sojin stood on the bridge of the UES Harmony, humanity's newest and most advanced warship. She was 53 years old and had commanded fleets in 3 different conflicts. But she had never led an operation like this. "Admiral," called out Lieutenant Commander Park Jin-woo from the tactical station. "All fleet commanders are reporting ready. We have 237 ships standing by across 17 sectors." Yoon Sojin studied the massive holographic display showing Thylorian space. Her intelligence officers had worked for weeks to locate every single Thylorian connected to the Kepler 442b rescue. It was like putting together a giant puzzle with pieces scattered across the galaxy. "Status report on target locations," she ordered. 17 primary targets confirmed, reported Commander Choi Min-ho, her chief intelligence officer. Velnora is on Terminus Station in the Outer Rim. Keltar is at Mining Colony 77 Alpha. Zixara is at Maintenance Depot 12 near the Thylorian homeworld. The list went on and on. Some of the heroes were working terrible jobs on distant stations. Others had been exiled to prison colonies for the crime of saving a human life. A few had simply disappeared, hidden away by their own government. "What about family members?" Yoon Sojin asked. "Over 400 confirmed," Choi Min-ho replied. "Spouses, children, parents, siblings. All marked as troublemakers in Thylorian society. Many denied basic services." Admiral Yoon Sojin felt anger burning in her chest. She had read every file, every story. Children refused entry to schools because their parents saved a human. Elderly parents denied medical care because their sons or daughters showed mercy. Lieutenant Park Jin-woo called out. "We're receiving a priority message from the Galactic Council." The holographic display changed to show Ambassador Krixtao, a tall alien with purple skin and too many eyes. He looked annoyed and spoke in the universal translator voice all diplomats used. "Admiral Yoon, the Galactic Council demands that Earth cease this military mobilization immediately. You are violating 17 different treaty agreements and threatening galactic peace." Yoon Sojin smiled coldly. "Ambassador Krixtao, please record this message for the Council. We are not conducting military action. We are conducting a rescue operation." "Rescue operation," the ambassador sputtered. "You have fleets positioned throughout Thylorian space." "Yes," Yoon Sojin replied calmly. "We are rescuing heroes who were punished for saving human lives. Any attempt to interfere with this operation will be considered an act of hostility against humanity." She cut the communication before the ambassador could respond. Minutes later, another call came in. This time it was Chancellor Mordok of the Thylorian Senate, his grey face twisted with anger. "Admiral, you will withdraw your forces from our territory immediately. This is an internal Thylorian matter. Your interference violates our sovereignty." "Chancellor," Yoon Sojin said, her voice like ice, "your people saved one of ours when your own government said to let him die. Now your government punishes heroes while we honor them. This is no longer an internal matter. You cannot simply take our citizens." Mordok shouted. "We're not taking anyone," Yoon Sojin replied. "We're offering them a choice. They can stay in your society that punishes kindness, or they can come to ours that rewards it." The Thylorian Chancellor made threats about military response and diplomatic consequences. Yoon Sojin listened politely, then gave her answer. "Chancellor, your military has never faced humans in combat. We suggest you don't start now. All we want are the heroes you threw away." Across human space, similar conversations were happening. Alien governments protested, threatened, and demanded that humans stop their operation. The response was always the same. Humans didn't forget their debts. And they paid them in full. On the bridge of the UES Harmony, Admiral Yoon Sojin looked at the tactical display showing human fleets moving into position. In a few hours, Operation Starlight would begin. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Lieutenant Park Jin-woo announced. Yoon Sojin nodded. "Send the message to all fleet commanders. Operation Starlight is authorized. Bring our friends home." The largest rescue operation in galactic history was about to begin. Commander Han Jae-wook stood on the bridge of the UES Redemption, watching the massive waste processing station grow larger on his main screen. Terminus Station was an ugly place, all rusted metal and flickering lights floating in the darkness between stars. It was exactly the kind of place where governments sent people they wanted to forget. "Sir, we're receiving standard docking requests from Station Control," reported Lieutenant Lee Nai from the communication station. "Ignore them," Han Jae-wook replied. "We're not here for permission." The commander was 38 years old and had served in the human fleet for 15 years. He had fought pirates, explored unknown systems, and negotiated with hostile aliens. But this mission felt different. More important than anything he had ever done. His ship was part of a 17-ship task force, each heading to a different location across Thylorian space. At exactly the same time, all human forces would begin Operation Starlight. No coordination with alien governments. No diplomatic requests. Just humans coming to collect their friends. "Target confirmed," called out Ensign Park Dong-minute from the sensor station. "Velnoro is in Section C7, working the night shift in waste disposal." Han Jae-wook felt a surge of anger. 3 years ago, Velnoro had been one of the most respected rescue specialists in the galaxy. She had led dangerous missions, saved hundreds of lives, and earned medals from multiple governments. Now she cleaned garbage because she refused to let a human die. "Open a channel to the entire station," he ordered. The communication system crackled to life. Han Jae-wook's voice echoed through every corridor, every room, every workstation on Terminus Station. "This is Commander Han Jae-wook of the United Earthship Redemption. We are here for Velnoro of Thylos. We know she is working in your waste processing section. We have come to take her home." The response was immediate chaos. Station alarms began blaring. Security forces scrambled to their positions. The station commander, a nervous Altarian named Glixvar, appeared on Han Jae-wook's screen. "Commander, you have no authority here. This is Thylorian territory. You must leave immediately." Han Jae-wook smiled calmly. "We're not leaving without Velnoro. She saved one of our people when your government said to let him die. Now we're returning the favor. She's a convicted criminal. A rule breaker. You can't just take her." "Watch us," Han Jae-wook replied, and cut the communication. Deep in Section C7, Velnoro was cleaning out a waste container when the announcement echoed through the corridors. Her four-fingered hands stopped moving. Her large, dark eyes widened in disbelief. Humans had come for her. After 3 years of exile, shame, and punishment, humans had come for her. Other Thylorian workers in the section looked at her with surprise. Everyone knew her story. She had once been famous, a hero among her people. Then she broke the rules to save a human, and everything changed. Velnoro, called her supervisor, a cruel Thylorian named Kexmore. "Get back to work. Ignore the human lies." But Velnoro was already walking toward the exit. She had waited 3 years for this moment. On the bridge of the Redemption, Han Jae-wook watched his sensors track movement throughout the station. Security forces were mobilizing, but they seemed confused. The humans weren't attacking anything. They weren't threatening anyone. They just wanted one person. "Sir," Lieutenant Lee Nai reported, "the station is requesting military assistance from the Thylorian fleet. They're calling this an invasion." "Let them call it whatever they want," Han Jae-wook replied. "We're not here to fight. We're here to honor a debt." The commander walked to a special section of the bridge where a guest was waiting. Kim Tae-ho sat in a chair, wearing a simple civilian suit instead of his old maintenance uniform. The man who had been saved from the collapsed mine was now part of the rescue mission. "She's coming," Han Jae-wook told him. "After all this time, you'll finally be able to thank her properly." Tae-ho nodded, tears in his eyes. "I never stopped thinking about what she sacrificed for me. Never stopped feeling guilty that she lost everything." "She didn't lose everything," the commander said. "She gained something more valuable than career or status. She gained our eternal gratitude." Meanwhile, across Thylorian space, 16 other human task forces were conducting similar operations. At Mining Colony 77 Alpha, Captain Song Mi-jung extracted Keltar from the rock sorting facility where he had been imprisoned. At Maintenance Depot 12, Commander Yo Jae-minute collected Zixara from her floor scrubbing duties. Every operation followed the same pattern. Human ships appeared without warning. They broadcast simple messages identifying their targets. They waited patiently for the Thylorian heroes to come aboard. No violence. No threats. Just rescue. The Thylorian military finally responded, sending 3 battle fleets to intercept the human operations. But when they arrived, they found nothing to fight. The human ships were not attacking installations or conquering territory. They were simply collecting specific individuals who wanted to leave. Admiral Korthax of the Thylorian Defense Force found himself in the impossible position of trying to stop a rescue operation. His government ordered him to attack the human ships, but his own military code forbade attacking non-hostile vessels engaged in humanitarian missions. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the humans are not targeting any military or civilian installations. They're only extracting the individuals on their lists." "What about hostages?" Admiral Korthax asked desperately. "No hostages taken. In fact, they are broadcasting open communications showing that all extracted individuals are leaving voluntarily." Back at Terminus Station, Velnora walked slowly through the corridors toward the docking bay where the human ship waited. Other workers stared at her as she passed. Some looked angry that she was abandoning her duties. Others looked envious that she had a chance to escape this terrible place. When she reached the docking bay, she saw human soldiers waiting for her. But they weren't pointing weapons or making demands. They simply stood at attention, showing respect. Commander Han Jae-wook stepped forward and bowed deeply, a gesture of honor among humans. "Velnora of Thylos, I am Commander Han Jae-wook. On behalf of all humanity, I thank you for saving Kim Tai-ho. We have come to take you home." Velnora's voice was hoarse from years of rarely speaking. "Home? Earth?" Han Jae-wook replied. "Or any human world you choose. You are now a citizen of humanity, with all the rights and honors that entails." As Velnora stepped aboard the human ship, she saw a familiar face waiting for her. Kim Tai-ho stood there, older and more weathered than when she last saw him, but alive and healthy. He approached her slowly, then dropped to his knees in the traditional human gesture of deep gratitude. "Thank you," he said, his voice breaking with emotion. "Thank you for not abandoning me. Thank you for risking everything. I'm sorry it took so long for us to come for you." Velnora reached down and helped him stand. "You came," she said simply. "That is what matters." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on 17 human ships. Heroes who had been forgotten and punished were finally being honored. Families torn apart by government retaliation were being reunited. The galaxy watched in amazement as humanity demonstrated something that had never been seen before. An entire species mobilizing not for conquest or profit, but for gratitude. 6 months after Operation Starlight, the Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the vast circular hall, all waiting to hear from the humans and their unusual new allies. Fleet Admiral Velnora stood at the speaker's podium, wearing the dark blue uniform of the human space navy. The golden stars on her shoulders marked her as the first non-human to achieve such high rank in Earth's military. Her gray skin and large dark eyes made her stand out among the crowd of diplomats, but she carried herself with quiet dignity. Beside her stood Ambassador Kim Tai-ho, the former maintenance worker who had become humanity's voice to the galaxy. He wore simple civilian clothes and looked nervous, still not comfortable with the attention his story had brought. The Galactic Council President, a tall insectoid creature named Zekthara, called the session to order with multiple clicks of her mandibles. The Council recognizes Fleet Admiral Velnora of the Human Space Forces and Ambassador Kim Tai-ho of Earth. Velnora stepped forward to speak first. Her voice was calm but carried clearly through the chamber's acoustic system. 6 months ago, I was cleaning waste containers on Terminus Station. I had been exiled there for breaking regulations, for choosing to save a life instead of following orders. Today, I stand before you as Fleet Admiral of the Human Space Navy, tasked with developing new rescue protocols that put lives before rules. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Many of the alien representatives had heard rumors about the human rescue operation, but few understood the full scope of what had happened. My story is not unique, Velnora continued. 117 Thylorians were punished for showing mercy to humans. Our families suffered. Our children were denied education. We were treated as criminals for doing what we knew was right. She paused and looked directly at the Thylorian delegation, who sat uncomfortably in their assigned section. Then humanity came for us. Not with threats or demands. Not with conquest or violence. They came with ships and open arms, offering us something our own government had taken away. They offered us honor. Ambassador Kim Tai-ho stepped forward to join her at the podium. Despite his nervousness, his voice was strong and clear. 3 years ago, Velnora and her team saved my life. They could have followed orders and let me die. Instead, they chose compassion over compliance. They paid a terrible price for that choice. Tai-ho gestured to Velnora and then to the gallery where other rescued Thylorians sat with their families. You saved one of us, so we saved all of you. This is who humans are. This is who we choose to be. The chamber erupted in discussion as various species debated among themselves. The Altarian delegation looked shocked. The Rokari representatives seemed angry. The insectoid Clicktar were clicking rapidly in their complex communication pattern. President Zekthara called for order. Ambassador Taiho, many species are concerned about the precedent your actions have set. You mobilized military fleets across sovereign territory to extract foreign nationals. This could destabilize interstellar relations. Taiho nodded thoughtfully. President Zekthara, we understand those concerns. But we believe there is a higher law than territorial sovereignty. When beings show kindness across species lines, when they risk their own welfare to help others, they deserve protection. Fleet Admiral Velnaro added, my people learned this lesson too late. We allowed our government to punish heroes and reward those who followed unjust orders. Humans showed us a better way. In the gallery, other rescued Thylorians sat with their new human families. Children who had been denied education in Thylorian schools now attended the finest universities on Earth and Mars. Parents who had been exiled for their children's compassion now worked alongside human scientists and engineers. Keltar, once Velnora's second-in-command and now a captain in the Human Rescue Corps, sat with his young daughter Minutji, who had been adopted by the Kim family after her mother died during the exile years. The little girl played quietly with toys while the adults discussed galactic politics. Zixara, another rescued Thylorian, now headed the new Interspecies Compassion Institute on Luna. She had traded her job scrubbing floors for a position designing programs to identify and protect beings who showed mercy across species boundaries. President Lee Jong-minit appeared on the main communication screen, broadcasting from Earth. His image filled the massive display above the chamber floor. Today, I am announcing the Chentai Protocol, he said, using the combined names of the saved and the saver. Any being who shows interspecies compassion, who risks their own safety to help others regardless of species, will find sanctuary and citizenship among humanity. The chamber fell completely silent. This was unprecedented in galactic history. This protocol has no limitations, President Lee continued. If you save a human life, we will protect you. If you show mercy to any species when your own government says to abandon them, we will offer you a home. This is our promise to the galaxy. The Thylorian Chancellor, Mordok, stood up angrily. This is an intolerable interference in sovereign affairs. You cannot simply steal our citizens. Kim Taiho looked directly at the Thylorian delegation. Chancellor, we are not stealing anyone. We are offering refuge to beings your government threw away. Every single Thylorian who came with us chose to leave freely. They were criminals. Rule breakers. Fleet Admiral Velnora's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. We were heroes, Chancellor. And humanity recognizes the difference. The session continued for hours as various species raised objections, concerns, and questions. But the human position never wavered. They had drawn a line in the cosmic sand, harmed those who show compassion, and humanity would act. As the formal session ended, President Lee Jong-minit made one final broadcast that would be transmitted to every inhabited system in known space. To every being listening across the stars, humanity makes this pledge: save one human, and humanity will move every star in the sky to save you back. Show mercy to any species, and you will find a home among us. This is our promise. This is our way. The transmission ended, but its message would echo across the galaxy for generations. In the months that followed, the Chentai Protocol was tested repeatedly. A Rokari medic who treated wounded humans during a plague found sanctuary on Mars when her own government branded her a traitor. An Altarian engineer who saved a mixed-species research team was given citizenship and a medal when his superiors tried to punish him. Each time, humanity responded with the same unwavering principle: those who showed compassion deserved protection. The galaxy slowly began to change. Other species started reconsidering how they treated acts of interspecies kindness. Some governments began rewarding mercy instead of punishing it. But everyone understood the new reality. Humanity had infinite patience for their friends and infinite memory for both kindness and cruelty. The universe had learned what it meant when humans said they never forgot their debts.